He's so cool. I've never seen him prepared like this before. He's taken himself away from everything. He's been training like a beast. He's in the shape of his life. Sparring Bruno Serra, sparring William Skull, all these top light heavyweights. He is looking sensational, and he's ready to explode at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on April 26.
It's only one winner. It's only one winner. I think he'll stop him. Yeah.
I think it's a great fight. I think it's a very interesting fight. Obviously, Eubank's been knocked out by Billam-Smith, albeit a heavier weight. But I think Eubank will probably win this one, just on experience and stuff. I think he's been in. I know he's had a couple of defeats, but he's only been beat to top level fighters. So I think he's had the more experience at the higher level. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm kind of edging towards Eubank. But it's a close fight, and it'll be an exciting fight. So I'll certainly be tuning in to watch it.
I'm not 100% sold on the winner, but I'll probably head towards Chris on points.
Why?
Just size-wise, Conor's small. I think Chris might rob a points win, if that makes sense. I think he'll jab. I think he'll be cagey on. I think that's a style now. He's not the Chris of old where everyone makes out he's fucking loves a fight and ferocious and got this big high work rate. I think he's very cagey, jabs and holds a lot, and I think he won't give Conor a chance in that.
It's for some reason they're very mad at each other. I've been reading a lot of things that have been happening, and one getting slapped. I think that they've built up the fight so good that I hope it's not a letdown and it's a dud of a fight. But the way they built it up, they should be a barn burner. We should be looking for a great fight between those two guys. Their fathers were great. Let's see if they can live up to what they've been hyping up.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I heard from one of the other reporters that said this is Eubank was limited to £170 by 10 o'clock the following morning, which I was surprised that. I thought they would have said you can't be any more than that at 6 o'clock in the evening, which would have been, because the reality is, Ben, if you look at his weights and go through BoxRec and check his weights, he's been a welterweight his entire career, and he's jumping 2 divisions here. So junior, middleweight, and middleweight, or super welterweight, whatever you want to call it, up to middleweight. So, I can understand why we would put that sort of rule in place, but he should have done it for later in the day. And then you look at Eubanks against Billam-Smith, and he was very badly knocked out. And up to then, when he campaigned at middleweight, when he fought George Groves, his chin was like concrete. Nobody could budge him. And then suddenly he gets down to 160, and he just looked shattered, and he was knocked out. Mind you, he had the rematch, and he won the rematch by a knockout himself. But I just think that there is that vulnerability now, and I think Ben he's a tiger, and he's aggressive, and he's quick. He's very quick. He may be lighter, but he's quick. And, probably by fight time, he would naturally be £160. So, there's undoubtedly a sort of 10 to 12 pound gap. And it's just about who has the right game plan. But it's a very even fight. And I just say I'm edging towards Ben. I think he has the surprise in him, in the sense that he's got that speed and that explosiveness. And he doesn't know what it's like to lose yet.
The back and forth between the two, I come at it from the perspective as not from a person that is only familiar with, with Chris Jr. and with Conor, but I remember their fathers fighting each other and how big that was back in the 1990s. So with that in my mind also, how could you not be excited? I mean, I'm trying to think of a time in recent years, in the last, 10, 15 years, whatever it's been, where I've seen a non-title fight get this much hype and become this big in terms of what the crowd's going to be, what probably, at least in Britain, what the pay-per-view is going to be, just the constant discussion of it, a pretty good undercard. Again, for a non-title fight, that is highly, highly unusual. But it just shows you that the personalities that these two guys have, the craziness of the press conference with the egg, the back and forth, obviously all the business between their fathers. You can't overlook the fact that they were supposed to fight 2.5 years ago and why it was canceled because of Conor Benn's positive drug test. The fight is just like a saga, like a soap opera. And, it's going to reach its, its high note, I guess, when they get in the ring and find out for real, who's going to win that fight. And for family honors and to place its fight in that same sort of folklore, if you will, of what their fathers did 30 years ago.
Who would you make a favourite, Dan? Because bearing in mind, a lot of people are talking about that rehydration clause for Junior, and he struggles over recent years to get down to 160.
Well, he knows about it well ahead of time, so I'm quite confident that Chris is going to work hard to prepare for the fight. And I know just how important this fight is for both these guys because of the father situation and just for bragging rights in Britain and all that. So I'm not that worried about the rehydration clause. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a 10 pounds cushion. Even if you normally might put on 12 or 13, it's not like they can't put on more weight after. They're going to weigh in the morning of the fight, and they're still going to be, probably another 10 hours or 12 hours until they actually get in the ring. So I feel like that's a little bit overblown. So I have no problem making Chris Eubank the favorite in this fight. I mean, maybe Conor Benn will pull it off. He's coming up essentially 2 weights. He has shown absolutely zero power since his drug suspension. He fought 2 very lesser guys in the United States. And yes, he won the fights, but he didn't shine, in my opinion. And meanwhile, not to say that Eubank is, undefeated and is knocking everybody out or anything like that. He's got his share of losses, but he's fought a much, 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 much better group of opponents during the course of his career than Conor has. I mean, Conor has never even won like the British title or the Commonwealth title or the European title. At least Eubank has competed in those types of fights, and he's been on the world level a number of times. He's got the big win and loss, granted, against Billam-Smith. So the level of opposition, the experience, the size, that to me makes him the clear favorite in the fight. That's not to say that Conor can't pull it off because he's a much younger man at this point than Chris is. But that's another reason why the fight's very interesting to a lot of people, because while it's logical that Eubank is the favorite, there's something in the back of your mind that says, maybe the other guy, knows something with the youth and hasn't figured out for some way. So count me in, baby. I'm interested.
I think Eubank is the favourite, and a lot of it depends on how he makes the weight and what he looks like on the scales, and the 10-pound rehydration clause is going to be difficult for him. I've been kind of criticised a wee bit because I've been saying he's been boxing at 168. He hasn't. He's been boxing at 160. But the point I was trying to make was he has boxed at 168. And as you get older, you normally go up the weight. You don't come down the weight. So he's it's hurting him now to do 160. And I need to see what he looked like on a scale before I make a prediction.
I think it'll be an explosive fight. I think the way Conor fights, I don't think he's going to sort of step off and start trying to use his jab and flicker. I think he'll bring the intensity, and Eubank can fight at intensity. So I think it'll be a great fight. You have to favour the bigger man. Through history, sort of, 95% of the time, the bigger man wins. So, but saying that, stylistically, I think Conor could pull it off if he's filled into weight and he's fit enough and he carries the power we have seen previously in his career. So yeah, it's an exciting fight.
I'm quite torn. And I see that Eubank's having to come down in weight. But is he? Because majority of his fights have been 160. Is that when he went up to 168, it was like, oh, it's too small for 168. Majority of his fights are 160. So he's a 160 fighter, but when he makes 160, it's hard work for him. So I'm not saying he's a 168 fighter trying to get down to 160. I'm saying he's a big 160 that struggles to make 160. I from looking at him, looking at pictures of weigh-ins and things like that. The major factor for me is, he's so much bigger. He is bigger than Conor Benn. Conor Benn is coming up from welterweight, but his last 2 fights have been at light middleweight. So he's really, because his last 2 fights over the course of 2 years or whatever it is, have been at 154. So he's not been a welterweight for a couple of years. So he's coming up one division, not really two divisions. He's a career welterweight that's now had his last couple of fights and not been at welterweight for a couple of years. So now he's a light middleweight. Could he still do welterweight? Yeah. But he's not done it for a while. So his body's used to being a light middleweight, really. So he's coming up one division. But the physical size difference lies with Eubank, but age. He's 35 years old, struggles to make the weight, and the last time I thought he looked old. It's the first time I've looked at Eubank. I remember I was there, and I looked at him. I was like, "Wow, he actually looks old." And he was in against a guy that was hand-picked for him to look good in that fight because it was Riyadh season. You know what I mean? And he's showcasing himself, wanting to get amongst all that. And I thought he looked old. And so for me, this fight's really even because Conor might be smaller, but he's definitely more explosive. He's definitely more has faster hands. He's sharper movements. He showed in the past as well. Remember when when he broke his jaw and then he came back. His boxing ability, moving around, his feet was so much better because we was all like giving him props about how much he improved as an all-round boxer. And you're thinking, so he's got the legs, the movement, and also Eubank. Yes, he's bigger, but Eubank hasn't got the engine that he used to have, and he hasn't got that toughness that he used to have, and he's not that good. You know, he's not that good. He's not. You know, that's why he's not gone. You know, at the top. He's not succeeded at the top level yet because I don't think he's that good. Don't get me wrong. I don't think Conor's that good yet. He's not done anything. You know, he's not done anything at a domestic level yet. Listen, he's beat Chris Algieri and people like that when they're way past it. In his monster phase where he was knocking everybody out. But prior and post, he's not suggested he's a huge puncher. He's a fast whipping puncher and very aggressive. But I just see it could go either way. I genuinely don't know. When it comes down to, you know, you mentioned the rehydration clause. Again, I've heard contradictory things. I've heard in past where I think Eubank said that he don't put that much weight on. He walks around, you know, around his fighting weight. So then £10 all right. Because it's £10 in the morning when they weigh in at about 8, 9 o'clock. If his management's smart, they've got it at 8 o'clock. You know, okay, we'll do the £10, but it's 8 o'clock in the morning. So he's still got the rest of the day to eat. If he's got a good nutritionist on board and they know how to fuel himself for the rest of the day. Because if they're weighing in at 8 o'clock, he's still got another 14 hours until they fight. That's a lot of time to refuel on top of the £10 that you've already fueled up. So don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan of rehydration clauses when it's not for a title. I understand the IBF rules. It was £10, now it's just moved up to £12. I understand the IBF rules. But this isn't a world title fight, far from it. So I don't agree that there's a rehydration clause being put into it, because if you're going to pick a fight voluntarily against a guy that's 2 weight divisions above you, what you normally box at, but really a weight division above, then don't then say, well, I'm picking a fight with you because I'm going to smash your face in, I'm this, I'm that, all that. But then only if you're a bit weaker than what you normally are, and the other people that have fought you haven't had that same advantage as what I'm going to have. That demeans your own win for me. But I understand why his management would want that, because, we don't want to give away 2 weight. But it takes a little bit away from your win, because you are literally saying, well, I can only beat you if you drained at the weight. Whereas you look at Crawford with Canelo, he's at the top end of the sport. They're stepping up. Massive what they're doing. And they've turned around and said, weigh what you want. we don't care. Now, he's truly thinking, I can beat this big guy. I don't need no advantages. I don't need you to give me a leg up. If I'm good enough, I'm good enough, and I'll beat him. That's if you're gonna pick a fight with somebody well above your weight class, then pick the fight and stick with the rules that are normally there. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's a good fight. You know, I see a lot of negative criticism about this fight with the weighters and everything. That aside, remember, I've been in gyms for years where I've seen people, two different weights, give really good work to each other. So I think it's a very even fight. I've probably got Eubank the favourite at the minute, just on. I think he's boxed a bit more consistently at a good level. I know we had the defeat from Billam-Smith, but I think he's been looking very good and very relaxed his last few fights. I think it's his to lose, sort of, but you know, I think with Conor Benn's determination and the way, well, I know determination don't always win you a fight, but you know, I think we'll see a different to him going to this fight. I would have loved to have seen him have another fight in the interim. Do you know what I mean? And then go into this, but we are where we are. So I think listen, whoever can handle the occasion and everything that goes with it is going to prevail.
That could be could be the factor, because in all honesty, if the only way I see someone, I've said this loads of times as well, weight divisions for a reason, and a good big one always beats a good little one, and I just feel like Eubank, the only way Eubank will lose is if he's weak at the weight, and that might be the reason why he's weak at the weight, so it could be a big part of it.
Who do you think wins? What's your prediction on that fight?
I just feel like Eubank's the bigger guy, and if he's strong at the weight, then I feel like he should win. But that's the big question: is he going to be strong because of the claws?
It's a tough fight, I'll be honest, especially at 160. But I do believe Conor comes through. I don't know whether it's my heart speaking or my head, but I'm saying no, it's my head, because I've seen what Conor can do in the gym. But yeah, I hope to God Conor wins. And more than anything, I'm just happy that he's able to set his family up for life now, and his kids, potentially his kids. You get me? So, yeah, I'm sure they got a 2-fight deal, are they?
Yeah, there's rematch clause in place.
Yeah, rematch clause. They'll have another fight. So yeah, there's a lot of money to be made there, and I'm just happy that he's able to secure his family.
Brilliant fight. Listen, I've always been a fan of Conor Benn. Let's get that elephant out of the room. I think Conor Benn at one point was one of the fastest improving UK fighters we'd seen until Scandal popped his head up. And so unfortunately it put a stop to his development, his consistency of development in his career. So that's the only reason why I'd go against him in this fight against Chris, because he's not been active enough, ring active enough. Whereas you look at Chris he'd lost and turned that round against Smith, but then Chris in his last fight he still looked like he had control, but I just thought you've got to be a bit more aggressive, you've got to be a bit more busy when you're getting in there with Conor Benn. I don't know what Conor Benn's doing behind closed doors, but if Conor Benn was being kept the consistency that he had up to the point of his career being stopped in its tracks, I'd have sided with Conor Benn. I think it's a good fight, and you can see why both fighters would win.
Well, I know what, fights are won and lost on the scales. I know what he can do when you're tight for weight. I know how difficult it is when you're tight for weight, and unless you're around both of them, listen, there's pluses, there's pros and cons in that, and it really is such a 50-50. It really is. I mean, the ferocity of Conor Benn could be overwhelming for Eubank, but Eubank, listen, he's fought a better opposition in his career, but I think he's not the most active of guys either. But and he's getting on a little bit. It's a 50-50, man. But yeah, I think the weight will suit Conor Benn, and therefore I'll give him the edge. Yeah.
I think it all depends on what Eubank's got left, which is very difficult to know. What is he now, 36 coming, or 35, 36? Does he have the appetite for boxing anymore? I don't know. He's gone for the Benn fight, hasn't he? As opposed to maybe chasing a world title shot. So, is it about money? Is it about being a world champion? I don't know what his ambitions are. That's motivating him now. It seems like it's money, and even though we all need money and want money and all the rest of it, it's not actually a great motivator in boxing.
I think it's a good fight. I just think that Eubank's probably naturally the bigger man, and he's probably the favourite. I think Conor Benn, he's more or less a welterweight. He's the one that's really stepping up in weight, isn't he? So I think it'll be tougher for him than it will be for Eubank. I think Eubank's a slight favourite. It's a great fight. Obviously, their fathers, all the history, we all know about it. And I can't wait for it. I think it's going to be really explosive. But Eubank, I think, is a favourite just because he's naturally the bigger man. But it's got the makings of a cracking fight.
I think it's going to be a great fight. I really do. And both boys want to win this fight badly, obviously, for their name and for their fathers. And I believe that it's going to be a great fight, but I strongly believe that my man will come out the victor of the fight. And but I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a momentous occasion, and I'm sure all the fans are looking forward to it as well. And I'm sure as a boxing fan that everyone will be tuning in to watch it as well.